The war began without warning. Across the skies of the frontier world of Branthos, flames tore through the clouds as alien warships descended like shadows over the horizon. Villages burned. Trade routes fell silent. Humanity's outposts were suddenly cut off from one another. Captain Darius Halley was not a hero by choice. He was a man of duty, hardened by years of defending backwater settlements from raiders and smugglers. But this was different. The enemy this time was not a gang or a lone pirate fleet. It was the Clear Dominion, a brutal empire that saw all others as property to be bought, sold, or conquered. The battle that changed everything happened on the edge of the Orvac district. Darius had been leading a small human defense force against a Clear raiding party. The Clear fought fiercely, but their commander, desperate to retreat, offered something strange instead of continuing the fight. From the smoke and wreckage, 2 alien soldiers dragged forward a tall figure in shackles. She had glowing violet skin, long silver hair, and eyes that seemed to hold a storm inside them. Her wrists were bound in heavy metal cuffs, and she walked with her head lowered, as if she carried a weight no one else could see. The Clear officer's translator spoke coldly. "This is our payment. Take her and we leave." Darius frowned. "I'm not in the business of trading lives. She is nothing. A servant. She will work for you until your debt is satisfied." The Clear left her there, and in minutes, their ships were gone. Darius watched her silently. Something in her posture made him think she wasn't just a servant. But the war left no time for questions. They brought her back to his base camp. She didn't speak much, only enough to answer when asked for her name. "Lyra," she said softly, her voice calm but edged with a quiet strength. For the next days, she worked without complaint, helping prepare rations, cleaning the soldiers' gear, tending to the wounded. But Darius noticed things. She knew how to handle advanced technology without hesitation. She spoke several languages fluently. And sometimes, when she thought no one was watching, she would stand outside at night, staring at the stars with an expression that was not longing, but sorrow. One evening, while Darius checked weapon supplies, Lyra quietly approached him. "You should not have taken me," she said. He looked at her. "I didn't ask for you, but leaving you there wasn't an option." Her eyes softened for a moment. "The Clear will come for me." "Because you're their servant?" She hesitated. For the first time, she met his gaze fully. "No, because they know what I am." Before Darius could ask more, an alarm ripped through the camp. Scouts had spotted a Clear strike force heading straight for them. Lyra's expression hardened, as if she had been expecting this moment all along. The soldiers scrambled to defensive positions. Darius ordered everyone to be ready for a fight. Lyra, however, stepped closer to him, her voice low but steady. "If you want to survive," she said, "do exactly as I tell you when they arrive." Darius studied her face. This wasn't the voice of a servant. It was the voice of someone used to giving orders, someone who had seen battles before. The Clear dropships descended, engines screaming in the night. Soldiers poured out, weapons ready. But their commander didn't shout threats or open fire immediately. Instead, he called out a single name across the field: Princess Lyra. The entire human defense line froze. Darius turned to look at her. She didn't deny it. She only straightened her back, lifting her chin as if the weight she carried had finally been set down. In that moment, Darius understood. She wasn't a servant. She wasn't even just an alien woman caught in a war. She was the reason the Clear had been here in the first place. And now, because he had accepted her, the war had become personal. The air was tense as the Clear commander's voice echoed over the battlefield. The human soldiers kept their weapons aimed, but Darius raised a hand, signaling them to hold. He needed answers, and he needed them now. The alien commander stepped forward, his armor gleaming under the camp's lights, his reptilian features twisted into a cruel smile. "You have something that belongs to the Clear Dominion," he said. Hand her over, and perhaps we will spare your lives." Darius looked at Lyra. She stood tall now, no longer hiding her presence. Her silver hair shimmered in the cold night air, and her violet eyes glowed faintly. She was calm, too calm for someone supposedly being hunted. "You're a princess," Darius said quietly, not as a question but as a fact. "Yes," she replied, her voice steady. "But not of the clear. They want me for what I represent." "And what's that?" She turned her gaze to the approaching soldiers. "The power to unite worlds they fear to lose." The clear moved closer, their weapons raised. Darius made a choice. "You want her? You'll have to go through us." The commander's smile faded. With a sharp gesture, he ordered the attack. The camp erupted into chaos. Gunfire lit the night. As human rifles cracked against the hiss of alien plasma bolts, soldiers shouted orders. The ground shook from the blast of grenades. Darius fought on the front line, moving from cover to cover, his rifle spitting fire. He caught glimpses of Lyra, not cowering behind the barricades, but moving between wounded soldiers, pulling them to safety, her hands working quickly to apply strange medical patches that seemed far beyond human tech. One clear soldier broke through. The defenses charging straight at her. Darius turned in time to see Lyra sidestep the attack and strike with precision, her movements fast, trained, lethal. The alien dropped instantly, his weapon clattering to the ground. "You can fight," Darius said when he reached her, breathless from the firefight. "I can do more than that," she replied, pressing something into his hand. It was a small, glowing device with alien markings. "If we survive the night, I'll explain." They didn't have long to think. The clear pressed harder, their numbers overwhelming. Just when it seemed the line might break, Lyra stepped forward, raising both her hands. The glowing tattoos along her arms began to pulse. A wave of energy erupted from her, forming a shimmering shield that covered the entire front line. Plasma bolts slammed into it and fizzled out harmlessly. The human soldiers stared in shock. "Move now," she shouted. Darius didn't question it. He ordered his squad to push forward under the protection of the shield. They fought their way toward the clear dropships, forcing the enemy to retreat under heavy fire. Minutes later, the last of the clear forces pulled back, their commander snarling in defeat. The dropships lifted off, vanishing into the night sky. Camp was battered, but still standing. Soldiers cheered, but Darius walked straight to Lyra. "Start talking," he said. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "The clear will come again. They will send more. But if you want to know why, we can't speak here. You have to take me somewhere safe off this world." "Why should I?" Darius asked. Her violet eyes locked on his. "Because the fate of your people and mine depends on it." Darius felt a weight settle in his chest. He didn't know if she was telling the whole truth, but he knew one thing: his life had just changed forever. And if she really was who she claimed to be, then the war was only beginning. The fires in the camp burned low by morning. Smoke drifted into the pale sky, carrying with it the bitter scent of battle. The wounded were tended to, weapons repaired, and defensive positions reinforced. But Darius's mind was not on the damage. It was on the woman sitting quietly by the supply tent, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes scanning the horizon as if expecting more trouble. Lyra had refused to rest. When the medics insisted she needed to sleep, she only replied, "I've slept enough in chains." Those words stayed in Darius's head. He walked over to her, his boots crunching on the gravel. "We leave at noon," he said. "You wanted to get off this world. Tell me where." Her gaze met his, steady and sharp. "There's a neutral system called Valoris. It's far enough from clear space to buy us time, but close enough to keep my trail hidden from others." "You've thought this through," Darius said. "I've been planning it since the day they took me." That answer opened a dozen questions. In his mind, but the warning siren cut him off. Scouts had spotted movement in the wasteland beyond the ridge. More clear? Darius asked. The scout shook his head. No, looks like mercenaries. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Not mercenaries. Hunters. The clear pay them to do what their armies can't capture targets alive. Darius didn't waste time. He ordered the camp broken down. Supplies were loaded onto armored transports, weapons checked, and routes plotted. They had to move fast. The convoy rolled out under the cover of dust clouds. Darius drove the lead. Transport, scanning the barren landscape. Lyra sat in the seat beside him, her posture calm but her hands clenched tight. You're not telling me everything, Darius said without looking at her. I can't, she replied. Not yet. That's not good enough, her voice softened. If I tell you now, you might not believe me. And if you don't believe me, you won't risk what's needed to win. Before Darius could respond, a burst of gunfire erupted from the cliffs ahead. The convoy skidded to a halt. Figures in dark armor emerged from the rocks, their rifles trained on the humans. The hunters moved with precision, cutting off escape routes. Their leader, a tall alien with pale skin and cold black eyes, stepped forward. Hand over the princess, he said. Walk away alive. Darius kept his weapon lowered but ready. She's under my protection. Then you'll die with her. The first shot rang out, and the canyon exploded into chaos. Darius ducked behind the transport, returning fire. Lyra grabbed a dropped rifle and joined the defense, her aim precise, her movements confident. One hunter got close enough to grab her. Before Darius could react, Lyra slammed the butt of the rifle into the alien's head, then used a short blade from her boot to finish him. You fight like a soldier, Darius said, breathless. I was trained as one, she replied, firing. Another shot. The battle raged for minutes, but under heavy human fire, the hunters began to fall back. The survivors vanished into the cliffs, leaving only silence behind. Darius approached her as the dust settled. No more games, Lyra. You owe me the truth. She hesitated, then pulled a small pendant from around her neck. It glowed faintly, its surface etched with symbols Darius didn't recognize. This, she said, is the royal seal of Velaris. I am not only their princess, I am their rightful ruler. And the Clear want me because Velaris controls something far greater than wealth. What's that? Darius asked, her eyes locked on his. The key to a weapon that could end every empire in the galaxy, including yours. Darius stared at the glowing pendant in her hand. The hum of the transport engines faded into the background as his focus locked on her words. A weapon? He asked. Lyra nodded. Not a bomb, not a fleet, something older. Something built before the Clear, or even Velaris. It's called the Celestin Core. My family has guarded it for centuries. What does it do? Her voice dropped low. It can shut down any advanced technology in a system, ships, weapons, defenses. If the Clear get it, they won't just conquer planets, they'll enslave whole civilizations without firing a single shot. The gravity of her words settled heavily between them. Darius understood now why the Clear had risked so much to capture her, and why they wouldn't stop. The convoy pressed forward, crossing the cracked plains toward the shuttle port that would take them off Branthos. But the unease in the air grew with each passing mile. The hunters might have retreated, but Darius knew they would be back. And next time they wouldn't come alone. As night fell, they made camp near an old mining facility. The walls gave them some cover, but the place felt wrong, too quiet, too still. Darius posted double guards and kept his rifle within reach. Lyra didn't sleep. She stood at the edge of the camp, her eyes fixed on the stars. Darius joined her. You could have left out the part where the Clear want a galaxy-ending weapon, he said dryly. She didn't smile. If I had, would you still have helped me? He thought about it. Probably not. But it's too late now. Suddenly, a faint vibration rattled the ground under their boots. Darius's instincts kicked in. He raised a hand, signaling for silence. The tremors grew, and from the dark horizon, the low rumble of engines reached them. Lyra's voice was sharp. Dropships. Within moments, the first clear gunship appeared over the ridge, floodlights sweeping across the ruins. Sirens blared as soldiers scrambled to positions. Darius barked orders, moving his men to choke points and higher ground. Clear landed fast, pouring troops into the facility. Plasma fire lit the night as the battle erupted. Darius fired from cover, cutting down advancing soldiers. Lyra stayed close, using her shield ability to block shots from reaching the wounded. But then, in the middle of the chaos, Darius spotted a squad breaking off from the main fight. They weren't heading toward the soldiers, they were heading for Lyra, on your right. Darius shouted. She turned in time, but the squad was already too close. One soldier fired a net launcher, the glowing mesh wrapping around her and pinning her arms. She stumbled, the pendant slipping from her grasp and clattering to the ground. Darius didn't think. He sprinted across the battlefield, cutting down two clear in his path. He reached her just as one of the soldiers tried to lift her away. A hard strike from his rifle butt sent the alien sprawling. He slashed the net open, pulling her free. The pendant was gone. Lyra's face went pale. If they get that to their ship, they won't, Darius said, his voice iron. I'll get it back. With a quick nod, she moved to cover him, firing precise shots to clear his path. Darius charged toward the retreating squad, the battle roaring around him. Every step brought him closer to the pendant, and closer to the truth of what he had just risked everything to protect. Darius moved like a shadow through the chaos, weaving between burning wreckage and shouting soldiers. The clear squad carrying the pendant was fast, but not fast enough. He could see the faint glow of the seal clutched in one soldier's clawed hand as they pushed toward their dropship. He aimed and fired, dropping one of them instantly. The rest turned, unleashing a storm of plasma bolts. Darius dove behind a half-collapsed wall, shards of concrete spraying around him. His pulse was steady, too steady for the madness around him. This wasn't just another mission. This was survival. Lyra's voice crackled through his cum. Two left, they're almost to the ship. I see them, Darius replied, breaking cover. He sprinted forward, firing on the run. One soldier went down, the pendant tumbling from his grip. The last clear lunged for it, but Darius tackled him hard, the two of them crashing to the ground. The fight was brutal, hands, elbows, and knees striking in close quarters. Darius took a hit to the ribs but rolled with it, twisting the alien's arm until he heard the satisfying crack of bone. The clear shrieked and collapsed. Darius snatched up the pendant, shoving it into his armor pouch. Got it, he said. Into the cum, but before he could make it back, the roar of the dropship's engines filled the air. It was lifting off, guns swiveling toward him. He sprinted for cover, bolts tearing into the ground behind him. Lyra appeared at the far end of the field, her hands raised. The markings on her arms blazed bright as a translucent wall of energy formed in front of Darius. The dropship's cannons fired, but the blast dissolved harmlessly against the barrier. Move! She shouted. He ran through the shield's edge, and together they ducked into a supply tunnel beneath the facility. The ground shook as the dropship raked the surface with fire, but they were safe for now. In the dim light of the tunnel, Darius handed her the pendant. She took it gently, her fingers curling around it like it was more than just metal and crystal. You don't understand, she said, her voice shaking slightly. This seal isn't just the key to the Celestin core. It's also the only thing that proves my claim to the throne. Without it, I'm nothing but a fugitive. Then we made sure no one takes it again, Darius said. She met his eyes, a flicker of gratitude in her expression. There's something else. The core is hidden on Valeris, deep beneath the capital city. But the Clear will never stop hunting me before I get there. If you help me reach it, I can destroy it forever." He studied her for a long moment. "If you destroy it, you lose your power too." "I'd rather lose power than watch the galaxy fall." The sound of boots echoed down the tunnel clear search teams. Darius pulled his rifle close, gesturing for her to move. They ran deeper into the shadows, the air growing colder and the walls narrowing. By the time they reached the far exit, the night sky stretched open before them. Their surviving soldiers had gathered with the transports, engines humming and ready. Darius looked at Lyra. "Once we leave Branthos, there's no coming back." "You sure about this?" Her gaze was steady. "I've been sure since the day they took me. Now I just need you to believe it." Darius gave a short nod. "All right, princess, let's end this." The transports roared into the night, carrying them toward the stars and toward the final fight that would decide the fate of both their worlds. The journey to Valeris was tense. Every jump through hyperspace felt like a gamble. At any moment, Darius expected clear warships to drop out of the void and block their path. But somehow they made it. From orbit, Valeris was breathtaking, a world of silver seas, emerald continents, and towering crystal spires that glittered in the sun. Yet Darius saw no beauty in it. To him, it was a battlefield waiting to happen. Their shuttle descended into the capital under heavy disguise protocols. Lyra wore a hood, her silver hair hidden, her violet eyes shadowed. Only when they entered the underground passageways did she finally remove it, letting her regal presence show. "This is where my family hid the core," she said, leading him through ancient halls carved from dark stone. Strange runes glowed faintly along the walls. "It's guarded by systems older than our history. Without the seal, no one can reach it." Darius followed her into a vast chamber. At its center rested a massive sphere of shimmering metal, suspended in midair by beams of pale light. Even without touching it, he could feel its power, a quiet hum that seemed to press against his bones. Before they could move closer, the chamber doors exploded inward. Clear soldiers poured in, led by the same commander who had offered her as payment on Branthos. His voice echoed across the chamber. "You think you can hide from the Dominion, princess? You were always ours." Darius and the soldiers formed a defensive line, rifles raised. Lyra stepped forward, holding the pendant high. Its glow filled the room, and the core responded, the beams around it flaring brighter. The clear charged. Plasma bolts screamed through the air. Darius fought at Lyra's side, cutting down enemies who tried to break through. Still, they kept coming. "They'll overwhelm us," one of his men shouted. "No," Lyra said, her voice ringing with certainty. "Not if I finish this." She moved to the core, pressing the pendant into a hidden slot. The sphere's hum grew into a roar, waves of energy pulsing outward. The Clears staggered as their weapons flickered and died. Their armor systems shut down. The commander roared in fury, lunging for her with a blade. Darius intercepted him, their weapons clashing. With a final strike, Darius drove the alien back, sending him crashing to the floor. The core's light grew blinding. Lyra turned to Darius, her voice almost lost in the sound. "Once I trigger the collapse, the core will be gone forever. But the blast will take me with it." "You're not doing this alone," Darius said firmly. "We find another way." "There isn't one." For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Lyra smiled faintly. "You've done more for me than anyone in my own empire. Thank you, human." Before he could stop her, she pressed the final sequence. A burst of pure white light filled the chamber. When it faded, the core was gone. The Clear lay unconscious on the floor, their systems dead. Lyra was still standing, but the pendant in her hand was shattered. "It spared me," she whispered, almost in disbelief. "It chose to." Darius let out a slow breath. "Looks like your galaxy isn't done with you yet." Together, they walked out of the chamber, past the silent Clear soldiers. Outside, The skies of Valeris were clear, the first true peace in years settling over the city. Lyra turned to him. "The war isn't over, but today, we won." Darius smiled faintly. "Then let's make sure it stays that way." They stepped into the sunlight, human and alien princess, no longer prisoner and protector, but allies bound by a battle that had changed the fate of worlds.